So what the f is going on with displays nowadays? It seems like if you don't have the newest 4K TV, the newest 4K monitor, or 4K in your phone, you're ostracized by the entire tech community. But is that actually practical? We're going to talk about 4K and just resolution in general and see if it's actually worth it. Yeah, are you pouring the coffee?
Yeah.
You go pour me some coffee.
Tell me when.
Yeah, how much coffee was that?
Tell me when.
Do it.
Tell me when.
Do it. Good. You're good.
Tell me
okay, when?
Tell me when.
When?
It stopped recording again.
It's fine.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Series 1. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 1, Episode 1. Does it matter? My name is Jack, and welcome to Tech Porn, the only show where we're going to show full frontal nudity with all of our devices. Up today, we're going to talk about resolution. Again, 4K, 8K, 12K, 24K, 24 karat K bar on the bottom of the TV screen. We're going to talk about all of the Ks. Resolutions these days are going crazy, but is it actually worth it? I mean, these things are carrying some pretty insane price tags. So today we're going to answer the million-dollar question, literally, if it's actually worth you to make the investment into a 4K or even 8K display. So first off, before we go into the actual topic at hand, we got to have the talk. And I do mean the biological talk. No, but like seriously though, we're going to be talking about our vision and our entire sense of vision. Now, our eyes are actually a form of analog imagery. If you think about it, our eyes can only perceive a finite amount of data at a time. It's just how we're constructed as human beings. For instance, there's the popular 20/20 benchmark, where the average person can see a minimum amount of data at 20 feet away. For instance, I could see at 20 feet away what the quote-unquote average person could see at 15 feet away. Like, Kevin, what's your eyesight like? What's your, just out of curiosity? Kevin wears glasses, so.
It's
So for instance, I could probably perceive more data than Kevin over here could at any given time. So naturally, this is going to vary between human to human, but I think I can give you like a decent perspective as to what you could actually look for in a display. So we're going to cover two more things before we actually have our tech talk. We're going to talk about two different definitions, resolution and PPI. Resolution is going to refer to the vertical by horizontal number of pixels in any display. The common types being 1280 by 720 or 720p, 1920 by 1080p, 2560 by 1440, which is known as Quad HD because it's 4 times the quality of 720p, as well as 3560 by 2160, which is, ladies and gentlemen, 4K in a display. So that's what resolution is. It's just the mere pixel count. Then PPI stands for pixels per inch, and this is the measurement of the pixel density in a display. So realistically, if you have a high resolution but also a high display, you're going to have a lower PPI versus something that has the exact same resolution in a smaller form factor. So think of it this way. Your PPI will be higher on a 1080p smartphone than it will be on a 1080p TV at around 50 inches. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the meat of this video, the tech porn. And we're going to start with TVs. Now again, TVs are kind of going crazy with 4K and 8K getting cranked out by manufacturers like LG and Samsung. But again, is it actually worth it? If you take a look at this chart right here, it shows a nice little ratio between screen size, viewing distance, and it corresponds to what resolution you're actually going to be able to take advantage of it. For the basis of this video, we're going to take a 60-inch TV because I think that's a pretty common display size nowadays for televisions. Let's say, for instance, you are 7 feet away from your TV, which is pretty closer than you actually ought to be. Only at that distance will you actually be able to distinguish between 1080p and 4K. Now, you will probably only be able to distinguish this after you've gotten a serious migraine because you're so close to the TV. At this point, it's not even worth having a 4K TV. But if you're a baller and you're rocking an 80-inch TV from Samsung, at that point, you're actually going to be able to take advantage of 4K on your TV just because the display is so huge, the pixels are a lot bigger. So you'll be able to notice them far easier. Again, if you have a smaller TV and you're viewing it at an optimum distance of around 10 to 12 feet, you're really not going to be able to take advantage of 4K at its greatest. Again, it's just basic biology. The human can physically not perceive that much data at one given time on that display from that distance. Now for something completely different. Let's take a PC monitor. A PC monitor is meant to be viewed at a very close distance. It's just naturally how we're going to use a PC monitor. They're designed to be viewed from a close distance, and in that way, you're going to be able to take advantage of a lot more data because your viewing distance is so small. Let's say, for instance, you have a 25-inch monitor, which I think is a pretty common display size nowadays. If you have a 25-inch monitor and you're viewing it from around 2 feet away, according to the graph, you're actually going to be able to take advantage of 4K. You will actually be able to notice and distinguish the difference between 1080p and 4K just because merely of how close you are. You'll be close enough to the display that you can actually discern between the pixels, and you'll actually be able to view more content and get a sharper image overall out of the monitor just because you are so close to it. Now, let's go to phones. If you think back to 2011, when the iPhone 4, not the 7, not the 6, the 4. I know a lot of you at home are probably too young to remember how good the iPhone 4 was. I mean, that thing was...
It was BS. Before Siri.
If you think back to 2011, the iPhone 4 launched with this quote-unquote Retina Display by Apple. The Retina Display was designed to be the sharpest display on a phone at that time, and it launched with a PPI of 326. Now that's pretty good, and I remember from the press conference, Steve Jobs talking about it. Now for all of you viewers at home, I'm going to show you a little clip of what Steve Jobs said at that press conference in 2011 when the iPhone 4 was announced.
Something we call the Retina Display. What's that? Well, in any display there are pixels. Here's 4 of them. We start off with the Retina Display by dramatically increasing the pixel density. 4 times as many pixels in the same amount of space. Now, why is that important? Well, let's make more pixels, and let's say we want to draw the letter A. And this is the outside boundary of one of the strokes of a letter, the letter A. Well, as you can see, we turn on pixels inside that stroke. We can get far more precision the more pixels we have. And we play all sorts of tricks by putting different levels of gray pixels on that line as well to try to fuzz it for our eye. But when we zoom out of this, what you can see is that because we have 4 times as many pixels, we get really, really sharp text compared to what we normally get on displays of lesser resolution. Now, the Retina Display has 326 pixels per inch. It turns out that there's a magic number right around 300 pixels per inch that when you hold something around 10 or 12 inches away from your eyes is the limit of the human retina to differentiate the pixels.
Now, Apple was arguing that anything above around a 300 PPI rating, that the human just could not simply notice it. I mean, any changes above that point were simply going to be indistinguishable. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, that's Apple. I mean, they're just saying that because they're Apple and they can do whatever they want, right? There were actually a couple of tests that people did. In fact, one of them by Android Police, they actually took a Galaxy S5 and a Galaxy S6, one with a 1080p display and one with a Quad HD display, and they took it out on the streets and they actually had people look at these 2 displays. And now a lot of people could distinguish the difference between the 2 and say that Quad HD was better. But that was from a viewing distance at about 6 inches. Now 6 inches is pretty damn close. I mean, like, you're right up there. Like, of course you're gonna see all that because you're looking right at the thing. When you're typically using your phone, it's actually a little bit farther than that, and you're not looking at it all the way up close like this. I mean, you don't have a magnifying glass as an eye. Again, your eyeball can simply just distinguish more at that distance. When it's farther away, it can distinguish a little bit less. For phones, again, you're typically not going to see much above 300 PPI. It's not just because of Apple. It's not because everything that Apple says is true. It's not because everything Apple says is true. It's just mere biology. The human eye can simply not perceive that much data at that point. The human eye just simply cannot distinguish it. Not to mention, there's more to this battle of display resolution with smartphones. There's also the battle of battery life. Now, when you have a higher display in a phone, it's just natural. It's going to use a lot more battery. If you have a phone running at a 1080p display versus a phone that's running at Quad HD, they have the same battery, same internals and everything, the 1080p phone is going to win in regards to battery life just because it's not pushing that many pixels and it's not working nearly as hard. Realistically, as long as you have above the 300 ppi rating, I mean, you're going to be doing just fine, and your battery is going to thank you a lot in the long run. Trust me. The worst thing you can have is a phone at a high display and you can't even use it. So you're better off just going for a phone that has about 300 ppi, give or take. Typically in your Android smartphone, it's going to be around a 1080p display at around like 5 inches or so. That's going to be optimum. Anything above that is going to be overkill. I'm looking at you, Sony. Why the would you put a 4K display in a smartphone? That's just bull. You're not gaining anything from it in the long run. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope we all learned a little bit today. We certainly did. And again, if you want to look at any of these claims that we're making, we're going to be citing all of our sources at the end of the video so you can see where we're getting all this information from, as well as in the comments. Wow, not the comments. The description down below. We'll have all these sources that we're getting all this information from. Information from, so you can kind of see like where we're making our claims from, and if you disagree, leave it in the comments down below. We'd love to update this information as it goes on, and hopefully we can remake videos from this information that we're gaining down below. If you liked this series, give it a thumbs up, give it a thumbs down if you just hate everything about life, or if you just thought we didn't do anything right in general. And again, leave a comment down below. We'll pick up any more information, and we'll also pick up the slack as we go along. This is our first video in the series. Hope you like it. We're going to have plenty more content coming. Subscribe, stay tuned for Tech Porn. We're a new channel launching. Give us some time. The first season of Seinfeld wasn't good either. Shameless plug, check out our other videos. We have another series called Happy Fun Times with Ace. This is where we throw him into a game that he's never played before, and we set it on the hardest difficulty possible. If you like comedy, you've come to the right place. Hopefully. I don't know. Again, we're just starting out. It's going to be rough for a while, but we appreciate all the love that we can get. Follow us on Twitter if you want some updates at TechnologyPrawn. We'll be keeping you up to date, and you'll always be the first person to know when new content is dropping. Thank you all. Click the button down here to subscribe. Click that up button or the downvote button. We don't care. We're just looking to get started.